Hey everyone, welcome to Talks of Thailand. My name is Jon. Today's story is about a man who didn't realise what had actually happened to him in Thailand until about 3 years after the event, when he finally pieced things together. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, give the video a like, and let's get in to today's story.
I was really nervous when I was heading to Thailand for the first time. On the one hand, I'd never been before. On the other hand, I didn't know what to expect. Also, I had it in the back of my mind that Thailand was my last chance of happiness because I'd got to 48 years of age and I'd never been happy once in my life. It's not like I didn't try to be happy, I did. Every time I felt like I was moving closer towards happiness, there would be some stumbling block getting in my way. Everything would go wrong, and I would start all over again. I wouldn't even start all over again. I kind of felt like I was going even further backwards than where I started with, and everything was just getting worse as time went by. I want to give you a bit of information about myself first, before I get into what happened to me in Thailand. I always considered myself to be a typical sort of person, just average in most ways, though I was quite shy and reserved when it came to things such as relationships, and relationships is where I felt my life always never went as well as it could have done. I had a few relationships in my life up until then, though I never felt like it was something serious. I never felt like it could be anything serious. It was more like coming to the realization that who I was didn't go together with what I was available to me in my home country. When I started researching Thailand, and this was back in 2012, so quite a long time ago now, the more I looked into it, the more I started to understand that Thailand, perhaps, could be the sort of place where I could live. I was thinking about living, though of course I was going to go for a visit first. That was what I was mainly interested in. You have to remember, back at that time in 2012, there wasn't anywhere near the amount of content on YouTube and other social media platforms with people posting videos and pictures of their lives in Thailand and other countries. Thailand felt like it was a lot further away back then. It felt like you had to be more adventurous to go there. It felt like the sort of place where your typical person just wouldn't go. And I think that's why I was attracted to Thailand. It wasn't that I thought I was different in any way to anybody else, though, as I see today, when I do watch YouTube and other platforms like Instagram, I watch them a lot, and the sort of people who seem to be going to Thailand today are the sorts of people that, at least in my opinion, back when I was looking into Thailand, were the sorts of people I was leaving in my country to get away from. I hope that goes some way to explain how I was feeling at the time. I didn't really have much money to my name. I didn't have any more than £10,000. That was probably everything I had. I lived in rented accommodation. I had a reasonable job, though it wasn't making me enough money to see me moving to Thailand anytime soon. I was still very naive back then, thinking that I would be able to get a job similar to the job I did at home in Thailand. The reason I was going for a whole month was that I took a month out of work. I'd saved up holiday allowance and used it all at once. And also, I'd been working for the company for a while, and I just wanted a whole month to myself. I hadn't had something like that for so long, and I was going to look into the possibility of working over in Thailand, look at what jobs were available there, and look at what other alternatives were there. Just take stock of Thailand, understand it, get to know it better, and see if it was going to be a place where I could move to. I remember arriving at London Heathrow. I'd got the train down from Birmingham, which is quite close to where I lived, though I don't live in Birmingham, thank God, just on the outskirts, well, quite a way away really. I arrived at London Heathrow, and I was visibly nervous. I was probably shaking, if I think about it, because the thought of actually doing what I'd thought about doing for such a long time, it was actually happening, and it did make me nervous. It did make me apprehensive, because I didn't know what was to come. It was my plan to spend most of my time in Pattaya. I'd heard lots of people go there, and that's what I'd read online as being the best place for somebody like me to live, looking for cheap living, looking for the possibility of being able to meet someone, and looking for a place where lots of foreigners lived, so you could fit in quite well. I didn't want to jump in at the deep end and go to any of these rural places like some guys did, because that would have been too far out of my comfort zone. I was just happy, though, with the thought of being able to achieve what I needed to achieve, which was only to live a decent life. Again, though, I was only going for a month to test the waters and see how it went. I'd booked 3 nights in Bangkok. I wanted to explore the tourist parts of the city around Sukhumvit. I wanted to go and see Soy Cowboy, I wanted to see Nana Plaza, just the typical places where guys went who were single and looking for something that they couldn't get at home. It was an exciting time. Going through immigration in London was painless, getting your bags checked, and then you're actually in the airport proper, waiting to board the flight. I went and had a few beers to calm my nerves, because it was a very long way. I was flying on Thai Airways direct, and I think the distance was 11.5 hours, and the most I'd been on a plane before was no more than 2.5, and it just felt like such a long way, such a long time to be sitting in one place, not knowing when you were going to get there. As soon as I got on the plane, things started to feel real. That was my first time experiencing Thai people and the Thai hospitality. I took my seat, and they had a TV on the chair in front of me that you could watch, and I took a window seat, and just took in the flight, and the time passed. You get there in the end, eventually, though when you take off in the first couple of hours, you never think it's going to end. I didn't manage to sleep, and by the time I arrived I was absolutely worn out, given that it was a late night flight, and I hadn't had a night's sleep. Though arriving at the time, I had a number of hours to kill before bedtime in Thailand rolled around. One of the things I was advised about, and one of the things I understood you needed to do, was make sure that when you arrive, or at say 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, don't sleep straight away. If you can hold out till 8 or 9, then that's going to work out better, and you can enjoy your holiday more, getting used to the time zone. The thing was though, by the time I got to my hotel, it was just off Sukhumvit Soi 8, kind of like that little cut-through that you go down past that place called the Litas. If you know, you know. Then you walk towards Soi 4. It's just on that little corner there. I believe there's a YouTuber that makes videos about staying there, at least he used to do. I believe he's from Norwich. And I stayed there, and it was great, cheap and basic. It did the job, and it was in a fantastic location. I wasn't tired though when I got there, and I couldn't believe I was actually there after all that thought, all that planning, and all that nervousness. I wasn't nervous anymore. Although I didn't have much money, I was prepared to spend as much as I needed during that holiday to give myself the best chance of having the best time possible and understanding as much about the country as possible. I quickly had a shower, had a shave, put on some sandals and shorts and a t-shirt and walked outside, and it was way too hot, even in such attire. That made me feel good though, because I was used to being bundled up in clothes and big shoes and gloves and a scarf and all that kind of stuff, which really was just how you lived at home, especially in winter. In Thailand, just being able to wear less clothing made me feel good about myself. Just the fact that the sun was shining. It was quite hazy, but it was still bright. It was exciting, and I always feel better when it's sunny outside, as opposed to when it's grey and miserable. Even though the temperature could be hot or cold, whatever, if it's bright, you do feel better, and I was feeling on top of the world. When I got out of the hotel, I had the desire to just go into the first bar that I saw. Although I'd walked past, and as the taxi dropped me off on Soi 8, and I took a look down that little cut-through, and I saw the Litas, I didn't know what it was then, but I didn't want to go there. I didn't know what it was at the time, like I said, I really want to say that, and I never went in. I just heard it from a guy I spoke to, who heard it from another guy that he spoke to. I decided to walk up to Soi 4, because I had read about that place. Again, I wish you could still read about things and experience them like you used to be able to do. Having to watch videos about things and actually see it up close and personal from someone making a video, that ruins the first-hand experience, at least in my opinion, of what it would be like if you didn't see it before you went. Skipping ahead a bit, I'm not in Thailand anymore, obviously, given that everything went wrong, so badly wrong for me, and I've got no desire to go to Thailand again. But I do travel occasionally, hope to retire somewhere eventually, and although people would say, if you don't want to watch what it's like, don't watch it, the fact that it's available to you, I'm talking about Brazil, by the way, where I went recently, looking for a second chance at retirement, but I'd already seen the streets, I'd already felt it by watching it. Okay, you don't have the smells or things of that nature when you're watching about it, but that's not the point. The fact that you've kind of already seen it before you go, it's not the same, it really isn't. That's just what I would like to say. I headed up to Soi 4, and I walked, and I eventually found Nana Plaza, though it wasn't open yet. The bars along the street, though, they were open, and I walked in one and had a beer, and it was quite quiet. I'd gone during rainy season of that year, and there weren't many people there. I think tourism was a bit quieter back then, still busy, but quieter. There were only 2 guys in there, maybe 3 or 4 girls working, and that was the first time when I understood why so many guys went to Thailand, because the girls there were on a whole other level to the girls I'd ever had a chance of being around at home. People say it all the time, Bar girls this and bar girls that. But girls are girls, aren't they? At least that's how I think about it. I was quite alarmed, though, when I took a seat and had a beer, and a girl came over to me. I wasn't shy or reserved like I would have been in a similar situation at home. I was laughing, I was joking, I was boisterous, I was outgoing, and it felt really good to be able to actually put myself out there as somebody, as opposed to just keeping myself upset about things and about my life. I felt like I was a different person there. I've heard that time and time again too, and I get it. You do feel like a different person in Thailand. You don't feel like you feel at home. At home, you feel constrained by society. You feel like you're being hammered down by society. Whereas in Thailand, the society is different. You can be part of it in your own unique way. Never fully a part of it, because of course, we're foreigners. Though you can be part of it in your own unique way. That's why I still think so many guys gravitate towards places like Thailand. Because they can be the guys who they could never be at home. That's plain and simple. I was the guy that I couldn't be at home. The guy who was cool at school, who had the girls. I wasn't him at home, though I was him in Thailand. The first girl I spoke to, although I hadn't expected to spend time with the girl that first night, I find that I'm speaking to her, and eventually she gets a drink, and then she asks if we want to play pool. We play pool, and we're talking. She's beautiful in every single way. Beautiful appearance, very feminine, very attractive, very delicately beautiful. And everything that I was looking for a girl is what she was. It was amazing that I could actually speak to her, knowing that other things could happen more than speaking, kind of having to pinch myself thinking, how is something like this even possible for a guy like me? Thailand became something that I didn't know possibly could exist. Thailand became something that changed me as a person on that first night, because all of a sudden, I could be the person I'd always wanted to be. All of a sudden, I could live like I'd always wanted to live, and spending time with that first girl was the most exhilarating experience I'd ever had, given the fact that she was everything I'd always looked for and everything I was never able to have. After that first night, I woke up the following morning with a pretty bad hangover, given that I'd drunk more than I'd drunk for such a long time, though I wore that hangover with pride. It was a feeling like I'm actually here now, I'm on the way, and things are going to turn out great. I repeated that experience for the next 2 days as I was in that hotel in Bangkok. From there, I went to Pattaya as planned, and I was excited to go and see what that place was like. Immediately, I'm having to be truthful here, I preferred Bangkok straight away. Luckily, I hadn't booked more than 3 nights in a hotel in Pattaya as well, because I was going to see where things went from there, and I just felt like I wanted to go back to Bangkok. Pattaya, while amazing, and I had some fantastic experiences, one along Soi Bukaw, one on Soi 6 and another along Walking Street, and each day was amazing, I just felt in Bangkok, you had the big city vibes, you had more opportunity there, you had more prospects there, and you still had the bars, you still had the girls, and you still had the nightlife. Back then, Bangkok was cheaper than it is today. It was still a big city, though it wasn't as globalised as it is today, and I think that's why I decided to go back to Bangkok and spend time there. I just found myself living every day, as cliché as it sounds, like it was my last. I was going out at about 1 p.m, I would go and have something to eat, then I would go and hit the bars for a few hours, just having some drinks, loosening up, getting over the hangover from the night before. Then I would hit the other bars where the girls worked, and I would chat to some, find a girl I liked, and then maybe take her for something to eat, some more drinks, and let's play pool and see what happens from there. By this point I was getting quite good at pool, never played as much pool in my life. From there, we'd go back to the hotel with her, and usually she would leave a few hours later, not really staying over to the following morning. I was getting carried away. I was spending a lot of money. Given the fact that Thailand was meant to be cheap, I was quite alarmed about how much money I was actually spending, though it didn't matter because I had the budget for it and I had the ability to be able to spend this money. It was just a question of making sure that I didn't get too carried away too quickly and my money finished before the end of my holiday. That was what I feared the most. I really didn't want that to happen, because if it did, it would have been a very bad thing. The idea, though, was to just continue doing what I could up until the point where it was time to go home. Then go home and reassess the idea of what I was going to do from there. It was about 2 weeks after I arrived in Thailand, though, when things started to go even better than I thought possible. Although I had found Bangkok and fallen in love with Bangkok and wanted to be there more than anything, it wasn't until I met a girl this time, and I will tell you exactly where I met her, on Soi 7, in a place called the Beer Garden. It was one of those places where you don't have to pay the bar, a place where the girls were just there, not working there, and that made the whole thing feel better. When I met her, I'd been in there the night before and had a great time with another girl, though with her it was quite different, because she, and I don't know what it was, she saw me and she came over and she sat next to me. By this point I'd had a few drinks, and she asked me if I wanted another, and I already had one, but it was nearly empty, and I said, yes, I'll get one soon, what do you want? But she said, no, it's on me. I'd never seen that happen before. I never heard anyone talking about that before. Whether she saw me from a mile away, whether she was friends with the person I was spending time with the night before, I don't know what it was. She really said, it's on me. So I got a drink. I was drinking Chang all the time. I loved Chang. I still have it when I can, even though it's not the same as drinking it in Thailand, but that's not the same. She got a drink, sang some and coke, and she actually paid for it, and I found myself just getting lost in conversation with her. She was from Surat Thani, which is the place just opposite Koh Samui where you get the ferry from. I never really heard of girls coming from there and working in the bars in the stories I've heard of, and the guys I've spoken to, but that's exactly where she was from. Her family were there, her 2 kids were there, she was 28 years old, and while she wasn't as beautiful as most of the girls I'd seen and spent time with, she seemed like she would be a stable choice when it came to meeting someone for something serious. When it came to actually having someone, that's what I was thinking. Being with someone and meeting someone and having a good time is one thing, but something serious is something else. She felt like the sort of girl that I could get to know very quickly if it worked well for me. We talked some more after that, and I bought her a drink and another one. Then we left and went to Soi 5. They had a place, I believe, called Gulliver's along Soi 5. We went in, had a few drinks and had something to eat, then left, then went up to Soi 4. Walked about halfway up that Soi and had a big place to play pool there, had a few games of pool, and by this point, I'm feeling like she's someone that I could really get to know more. Although I had met a different girl every single day that I'd been there, and I'd been spending a lot of money, she was like I'd met a girl who, it wasn't about the here and now and quick, it was about let's see where things could go. I was very drunk though after playing pool, and I don't really remember what happened, though I do remember waking up in the following morning with a pounding headache when she was there with me, and I didn't want her to go. She had a bag hangover too, and she said, what do you want to do today? I just said laughingly that I want my hangover to go, let's go for some early morning beers. I get it, early morning is relative, it was about 11 a.m, so we went, had some drinks, talking some more, having something to eat, and by the end of the day, we decided that the following day we would leave Bangkok, go away to the beach somewhere, and spend a few days together and see how we feel. I have to stress yet again, at this point, she's not asking for any money from me. It wasn't about money for her. She said she'd been in a relationship recently with a guy from Germany that had lasted for about 2 years, and unfortunately, he'd run out of money and left, and she couldn't contact him anymore. She wasn't interested in meeting someone and just taking money from them. She was interested in meeting someone and having a long-term relationship with them. She said she missed having someone to share her life with. She missed having a partner. She missed living like that. I guess what she said, she wanted what exactly was I wanted. I wanted the same thing. And the more time I'm spending with her, the more I'm feeling like she could be the girl I could actually get to know and settle down with long term. We extended our time on the beach from 3 days to 4 to 5 and then another 2. By this point, I had less than a week left in Thailand, and I hadn't done any research into finding jobs or anything. I decided that I would start looking now. I contacted a few agents, ones I'd already got the numbers of, though I quickly realised, unfortunately, I should have done this research beforehand, that finding a job, doing what I did as a foreigner in Thailand, was virtually impossible. Most of the guys working there were either teachers or guys who were recruited from another company by the specific company they worked for into the country, or they ran their own businesses, or worked for themselves, or were retired. That was a bad moment, because I'd always considered that I would be able to get a job in Thailand. And again, you have to remember back that there wasn't as much information available online about things like that, so I think I could be given for being so naive. What I did decide to do, as the time went by, was I'd already found her by this point. I will admit to saying that I loved her. She told me that she loved me too, and she said she didn't need to go back to the bar now that I'm with her. Again, it wasn't the bar where she worked, it was the beer garden on Soi 7 where I met her. It wasn't like she worked there, it wasn't a bar girl type of thing. It was a bar where she went to meet people and she had to buy her own drinks, and I suppose that's why I felt it was so much better than meeting a girl at any of the other places. Even when I only had a few days left of my holiday, I said I'm happy to give her some money, but she said no, don't worry about it. She said she wanted to make sure I could see her again soon, and when she said that, I was kind of already in love with her, and the idea of not being with her was really upsetting. I had spent a fortune, by this point. As I said, I had about £10,000 around this point by the start of the holiday, and by the end, I probably had about £3,000 left. No holiday days left or anything, but I was now in love with the girl who was in love with me, and we were meant to be together, and the thought of not being with her was very upsetting. We spent the remaining 3 days together, and at this point, she said that it was her plan to go and spend some time with her family down in Surat Thani. She wanted to spend some time with her kids, because she hadn't spent time with them for a while. And even though, I said, I'm happy to give you a little bit of money to make sure that you're okay, because I don't really want you to go back to places like the beer garden and maybe meet someone else, she said I had nothing to worry about. She's got no intention of doing that, and she would never dream of doing that, because, according to her, she felt like she'd already found the guy she wanted to be with. She was very honest with me, talking about the German guy that she spent time with before. She said she thought she was going to be with him forever, though he left and didn't contact her, and she wasn't able to contact him. And she said she waited over a month before she left Surat Thani back up to Bangkok to look for someone else, and she'd been in Bangkok for about 3 months when we met. She said she had met guys and been with guys lots of times. She was honest, and I appreciated that honesty. Though now that she'd met me, she wasn't about to lose what we had or waste what we had. It was because she said that, telling me not to worry, saying she will go back home, and then we can work out what we want to do from there. That's what I always thought. Although it was going to feel very bad to go back, I really thought that I would be able to take better stock of the situation when I was at home, because that would give me better idea and a better understanding of what I was able to do and try to make what we had better. We spent a great last 3 days together in Bangkok, but I was dreading going back home. When it was time to go back, she even took me to the airport in a taxi, and she was sat right next to me holding my hand. She was visibly upset, and I was upset, and I just promised her, I'll see you as soon as I can. She said, I hope so. I can't believe I met someone like you. And you know what they say, you know everything. And I was sold, I was in love, and all I cared about was working out how to make what I had with her a reality. When she left and I was alone in the airport, a few hours before the flight, that was when I felt worse than I'd ever felt in my life. You have to really understand when a guy says that leaving Thailand is the worst thing in the world, because it really is. I mean, I get it. For the guys who are going back to their own country, maybe if they've got their wife with them, that's not the same. That's not as bad, it's just normal. But when you're leaving behind someone that you love and that you want to be with, and you can't just take them with you because of the restrictive nature of the visas at home, it really is like you're being ripped away from who you're meant to be with through no fault of your own. Some people will say it's all your fault. If you had enough money, you could stay and do what you wanted, though it's not like I didn't try. I tried hard all my life to do what I wanted to do. I really tried, and I felt like I was being torn away from where I should be, torn away from the person I should be with, through no fault of my own. It was devastating, heartbreaking, and when I boarded the plane, I wasn't crying, I'm not that stupid, though I was thinking, this isn't right, I'm not meant to feel like this, it feels awful, it really was awful. We took off, and 12 hours later I'm getting off the plane in London, not feeling as bad because the worst of it was out of the way, though I quickly opened up my phone and put in my UK SIM card. One thing I would like to say, which isn't important, but back when I got my first Thai SIM card, it was easy, you just bought one. Now I'm led to believe how difficult it is, showing your passport and this and that and all this nonsense, so I suppose Thailand isn't as good as it was anyway. But I put in my UK SIM, didn't even think about how much it was going to cost to call her, but I called her straight away. She answered immediately, and I heard kids in the background. She said she was at home, thank you for calling. She said she was so scared I wasn't going to call, and she was so grateful and so appreciative that I called. The thing was, I was really appreciative that she answered, and I think that's the thing. We were both happy with each other in our own ways, and I thought that we both had shared feelings and a shared understanding of things, and I thought we were going to be together somehow, and that's what I wanted so much. I arrived back home on a Friday evening, so when she answered, it was quite early morning Thai time, about 6 or 7. I had the weekend to myself, then I was going to go back to work. It hit me when I was on the train back up home that in 2 or 3 days I'm going to be back in my office working, with no chance to have another holiday for at least 6 months, given the fact that I'd already taken the holiday allowance for this year and I only had a little bit of money left, and it felt awful. At the time, all I'm thinking about is, what can I do to get back to Thailand? What can I do to get to be with her? What can I do for us to be together? That was all that was important. That was all that mattered, and I just wanted that more than anything. Though, how it was going to happen and how it was going to work out, that was something that I hadn't actually worked out yet. I arrived back home, the weekend passed, I'm speaking to her 3 times a day. I found a better calling package so it wasn't too expensive, Though we are speaking all the time. We're talking about what we want to do. She misses me, I'm missing her. When I went to work on Monday, in a way it felt like I had never left and I'd never been anywhere, though I had her in my mind all the time, and I had Thailand in my mind all the time, and I just couldn't work it properly. I couldn't function properly, and I didn't know what I was meant to do. I really didn't know what I was meant to do about anything, because I couldn't do this for another 6 months before I saw her again, and then that would only be temporary anyway, because I'd go for a month and I would have to come back. The first week back at work was absolute torture. It was the worst I'd ever felt in my life, and that's saying something. But we are speaking all the time. And by the end of that week, I asked her how she would feel about actually leaving Thailand and coming to live with me in the UK. She quickly pushed back against that idea, saying she wouldn't want to do that because she wouldn't want to not see her kids for year after year, and I completely understood. I didn't want to be in England either. I really wanted to be in Thailand, and I told her, I want to be in Thailand, but I don't know what to do. Do you have any ideas? She said she had none, but she would have a think about it. I have to say again, I haven't sent her any money since I've been back. I haven't given her any money when we were together. What does any guy need to think about when that's happening? If you're not giving money to someone that you're with, if she appears to be with you for the right reasons, what are you meant to think? It didn't appear that money was front of her mind. It didn't appear like that at all. So I'm thinking to myself, I've got a real one here. I've got a good one. I've got someone who's interested in family and future and love and not about money. And that was what made it even harder. She didn't ask for money. Again, she didn't ask for money. A few weeks go by and we're trying to think. We're trying to think about all different kinds of things. One day we're talking about maybe she can come to England for 6 months and we can go to Thailand every 6 months until I retire, even though that's not what she wanted to do. She is coming round to the idea. Then we're talking about me moving to Thailand and trying to find a job as a teacher. I'm looking into that, but would I make enough money? Maybe, but then I wouldn't be good at teaching. Then we're talking about maybe starting a little business in Thailand, but I don't have any money for that. So where am I going to get the money from? We are coming up with lots of ideas, and time is going by, and we're not really progressing to a point where we can actually be together, and it's getting really hard. It's really weighing on me, because I want what I want, which is her, and it appeared that she wanted what she wanted, which was me. But it's getting to the point where I just don't want to be where I am, and I'm even thinking, well, let's go. I'll go back to Thailand, I'll spend as long as I can there, and if my money runs out, then I'd rather not even exist anymore. What's the point of existing if you can't be happy and be with who you're meant to be with? That's how desperate I was getting and how upset I was getting, and it was a difficult part of my life. On the one hand, she's always there to talk to me, she's always there to make me comfortable, the fact that I could hear her kids in the background when we talked lots of times, the fact that when I called she always answered, she never didn't answer, she was never secretive or said I can't talk for very long, she was always like I thought she would be. It was like we were actually made to be together, and not being together was torture. It was about 3 months after I was back when she said that she'd had an idea that might work. She said that where that she lived was in Surat Thani. As I said, that's the place where you get the ferry from to Koh Samui. Though she said it wasn't as close to the beach side of things, she was well inland. She said that her family had a little bit of land, and they're not doing anything with it. It's quite close to a road, so perhaps, if we had that land, we could have, with a bit of money, build a small place to live, and out front, we could have a little shop or a restaurant. I know, hearing all the stories now, guys opening restaurants and things like that, it's like, what else are you meant to do? It's a typical sort of Thailand thing. Guys tend to do with their wives or girlfriends or whoever they're with. The way she described it was not like that, though. It wasn't, send me some money and I'll do this and you can come back later. It was, why don't you come back, have a look, see what it's like, and see what you think about it. And if you think it's something that might work, then we can take things from there. The fact that she wasn't wanting money from me up front, she didn't want money now, she didn't want this, she didn't want that, she didn't want anything. I thought, well, I'm happy to go and have a look. The only thing was, how was I going to take time off work? We started talking about this for day after day, and that went on for a long time. And the more we talk, the more convinced I am that this is something I should just go for. I should just do it. I asked her, how much would it cost to set up what we need? A tiny little house? We don't need a lot for that. She even said that her kids wouldn't need to live with us all the time, because they could be with her family sometime. But she said her family had a house so they wouldn't need to live with us, and because her kids were young, they would be able to have a bedroom in the house we built, and they could spend time between us and their grandparents. She wasn't trying to do anything I felt that wasn't what you'd expect from a girl like her. I mean, that's what I was technically thinking about things. If she's being honest with me, she's not wanting anything up front, then where is the angle? You're always thinking of the angle. Any guy that says they're not is lying to himself and lying to you. I was always thinking, where is she trying to trip me up? Though perhaps she was thinking the same thing. He's just talking to me, and then he'll meet someone else, a more beautiful Thai girl, because she wasn't the most beautiful Thai girl you'll see. He'll meet someone else and he'll leave me. I thought she was most likely thinking the same thing. I'll tell you exactly what happened. It got to the point about 4, maybe 5 months later after I returned home. I just decided, I've got an idea. If I can get a loan for the amount that we would need, enough money in the bank to live for a few months to get set up, then perhaps I should just take the risk and go for it. I couldn't take working anymore, and the fact that I had decent credit, I always paid for my groceries on my credit card, I paid for everything on my credit card and paid it off every month. I'd recently paid off a car loan, so maybe I could get a small business loan. I was thinking a small loan. Maybe I would have to fabricate it slightly to say I was going to be working and doing my business from in the country and not out of it, but I thought I could raise the $1 million baht that we would need to build a house and the restaurant. The restaurant is what we decided to go towards. She said that she was a great cook, she was able to cook great Thai food, we could sell drinks, and she said, we're not going to make a lot of money, though we could make about 30,000 a month. We won't have to pay rent, we won't have huge bills, we can just live a normal life. I knew I could get £10,000 for my car, or thereabouts. I had about £5,000 saved up at that point, and as she's not asked for money for me, if I could get $25,000 from the bank from a business loan, then perhaps it would be something worth taking the risk on. If worse comes to worst, we might have a year. By that point, surely she'll be able to get a visa to come home with me if things go wrong, and I decided that I was just going to pull the trigger and go for it. I can remember the day I got back home from work on one Friday. I'd been to the shop, got a few beers, ordered an Indian takeaway, and I was about to apply for this loan, which I believed was going to change my life if it worked out. I actually had her on the phone with me at the same time, saying, well, if this comes off and I get the money, I'm going to be able to come soon. I applied for the loan online, and it was approved for £25,000. Thank God I had good credit. That was the most I could get without having to have further checks, and the fact that I got that, it was that moment where all the dreams and all the hopes and all the things that we wanted to do, all the ideas that we had and everything we talked about, they weren't ideas anymore. It was real and it was going to happen. We were going to actually be able to follow those dreams and follow what we wanted to do and get to the point where we could actually finally live together. I'd already proposed to her over the phone. I'd already gone to find her a ring for her. It was only a cheap one. And we were going to get married. We were going to live the good life together. We were going to be together. That's what it was all about. It wasn't that I thought I was going to grow a big business and make a lot of money. It was that I thought we were just going to be able to live a nice, peaceful life out in the countryside. You have to remember, I hadn't seen anything about where she was from, but I didn't care. I had no care whatsoever about where she lived, where she was from, or what it looked like, or what the people were like, or anything. As long as I was with her, that was all that mattered. I can remember going into work the following Monday and giving in my notice for a month, but I was happy to give them a month, because that would give me the time to sell everything I had from my house. It wasn't my house, but I could raise as much money as I could over that time, sell my car, book the ticket, and I'd be on the way. Again, it's very important to say, she didn't ask me to send any money until I arrived. She didn't ask for anything. She was just counting down the days just like I was until I went. Together with the loan, plus the money I got from my car, plus the little bit of savings I had, plus the money I could raise from everything inside my house, I had about £43,000 and a couple of £100 on top. While that's not a lot of money, and I wasn't going to retire, I wasn't going to do anything other than just what I hoped would live a basic life. We reckoned that for the house it would be about 700,000 baht, the little restaurant out front about 300,000, plus the things we needed. There should be enough money for me to live for 6 months to a year without having to work. While she said that she thinks it's going to work, it wasn't like she was promising it or she was trying to fabricate things. Again, that's important to say. It wasn't like she was being dishonest or anything, or at least I didn't think she was. I can remember when I booked the ticket. It was amazing. Back then I was able to get a non-immigrant multiple entry visa from a consulate in the UK. I sent off for that. They didn't really ask for anything and I didn't have to provide anything. I know you can't do that anymore because that's not how it works, but I got that, a multiple entry visa, which was great. I knew I could extend that based on marriage, though that was something that would have to come later, because after we'd invested what we'd invested, I wouldn't have the 400,000 baht in the bank, though I could leave the country and come back for a year, and actually get 15 months in total on that visa, and take things as they came, and worry about that later. I can remember arriving back in Bangkok. She was meeting me at the airport, and the fact that she was there, the fact that she just looked exactly how she looked when I left her, and how happy she looked, it was amazing to experience and amazing to witness. I got out of arrivals and I ran over and she ran over to me, and it's like, we're here, we're actually together again, and it felt so amazing. We only spent a few nights in Bangkok, and I suppose we did live like we did when I met her the first time. We were playing pool, going out to eat, getting drunk, living a good time, and in the end, we stayed a little bit longer in Bangkok. I probably did spend too much money, but it didn't matter. She wasn't wanting any money from me, and I was happy. By this point, she'd told her family we were already engaged to get married. I'd given her the ring, I'd actually proposed to her in the proper way now, and I was feeling like I was on top of the world. She seemed to be equally as happy with the situation, and we both seemed to be happy. We left Bangkok, headed down to Surat Thani, and that was my first time there, first time in that town. We spent a night in the city, and then we got the bus out to where she lived, which was quite a long way away. Well, inland. Got off the bus, in that town, and there was a pickup waiting for her. Her sister and her sister's husband had come to pick us up, and we jumped on the back of the pickup, and we're going down this road, and we turned onto another one, and then down a dirt track, and then we arrive at the family's house, and the whole family's there. I do all the introductions like I've been told to do, Sawadi Kap, nice to meet you, talking about everything, and of course I need to say, there was no talk of me having to give any money to the family, that was never talked about. It was just like welcoming home in a way, even though it wasn't my home. I felt like they welcomed me with open arms. That's when she showed me the land that her family had. It was going to remain her family's land, though we could build on it where it was, and where the restaurant could be. It was on a road in the village, and it just seemed like the sort of place where everything she said was going to be possible. I didn't know anything about anything. I trusted her with everything that she was saying, though again, I didn't trust her when I wasn't with her. She never wanted anything when I wasn't with her. She'd already worked out someone who was going to build the things we needed, and how long it was going to take, what we could do in the meantime, and the wedding was sorted out. I did pay for the wedding, I gave the family the money for that, and that was going to be in 2 weeks' time, and we decided we would start to pay for the other things after that. We actually returned to Bangkok for those 2 weeks, spent a great time there. We're not going wild as much, though we are going out and eating Thai food and going for a game of pool and a few beers, and we're just happy to be together. But I'm still not giving her any money. After that, we went back, we had the village ceremony, I was welcomed, we got little cards full of money. Although it didn't cover the cost of the wedding, it covered about half of it. And it was actually someone in her family who showed some money and a bit of gold. They just said, don't worry about it, we'll show it for you, and it'll all be fine. It was just like they wanted to keep the tradition and keep the customs alive. They didn't expect anything from me. When we were there, I should say, we were able to stay in the family's house. It was only small, though they had a little outhouse kind of thing, and it was pretty much the same as the actual house, though she called it the outhouse. To me, I couldn't tell the difference between the real house and this outhouse, but anyway, we stayed there. You had to walk outside to get to the little bathroom there. We had a squat toilet and a bucket shower thing. It was fun and different. Any time I started to feel uncomfortable about the fact I was using a squat toilet and throwing cold water over myself with a plastic bucket, walking out in the mud to the little house that we were sleeping in without air conditioning, any time I started to feel bad about that, I thought back to my old life and my old job and thought, I'd rather do this any day of the week. I don't care if it's primitive or backwards or basic, like some people might say. I'm with someone that I love. Never had this feeling before. I'm in Thailand, and I don't care. I'd rather do this than work my old job. I really was okay with it. Over the next few days, that was when we got the builder sorted out for the little house and the restaurant, and in the meantime we found a place to rent, which was about 10 minutes away on the motorcycle. She had her own motorcycle. I didn't buy it. That was good, and that worked according to plan. So we were able to use this motorcycle as and when we needed it to go to and from the house. I felt like everything was working out so well. I thought it was. It was great watching the place go up. I'd sent money to Thailand in order to do this, and they were basically being constructed at the same time. I was mainly interested in the restaurant getting built first, because that was what was going to cover our living expenses, and the house was going to be where we could live. Though they both came up at the same time, and it didn't take very long, about 3 months for things to get to be built. By the end of it, I had about £10,000 left. Bear in mind, we're doing very Thai style, we're going very local, we're doing things very easily and simply, and it was set up, and it felt great. We got all the cooking facilities for the restaurant, and we opened, and people started coming in. She's selling food, and I'm not working because I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to work because I didn't have a work permit, but she was working, and it seemed to be going great. The fact that everything went exactly like she said it was up until this point, The fact that everything seemed to be genuine up until this point, the fact that she's doing what she said she was going to do up until this point, there was nothing that made me worried about anything. I wasn't worried. I was happy, and I thought I would always be happy, just like I was then. By this point, I'd transferred in all my money to Thailand, and when we eventually moved into the house and the restaurant was open, it was making some money, though straight away it was clear, very early on, that it wasn't going to make enough. We were hoping for $30,000 a month, which again wouldn't have been a lot, though it would have been enough to exist. Just being able to be with her, that's all that mattered. If I had to eat Thai food for the rest of my life, if I had to eat only rice and nothing else for the rest of my life to be with her, I would have been fine. But over the first couple of months, the restaurant is only bringing in about $10,000 a month, not even 30. And of course that means my money's going down, slowly going down, and she's trying her best and trying her hardest, while not being able to live, though, on the money it makes. I knew that we were taking a risk by what we did, and I knew that my whole being was happy with her and being with her, though the fact that money was going down, the fact that the restaurant was not bringing enough money, it was starting to cause a bit of a rift between us. As much as I didn't want to get angry or upset with her, I'm having to tell her I put everything into this. I really don't want to go anywhere else, and I don't know what to do. Then it's one of those, she's telling me I'm trying my best, I can't do anything more than I'm doing. And the thing was, I could actually see her trying her best. She was trying her best, though I was powerless to do anything about it. It was around this time when I sort of understood how guys must feel when they go to Thailand. It's like they're completely powerless to do anything about anything because you can't have a work permit, you can't live like a local, and you don't have rights, you don't have anything, and you're sort of trapped, hoping that things will work, watching the love of your life, who is your wife, well, your village wife, doing her best to try and make things work. On the other hand, it's not working according to plan, and instead of being able to do anything to help, you're kind of making the situation worse by being angry. This had to work. And maybe my £10,000 that I had left, it became 9, and 3 months later, 8, and it's not like the money's going down too quickly, but then it's 7, 6, 5 and 4, and I'm just clinging onto the hope that something will work out. Although I was in love with her, and I thought she was in love with me, the lower my money went, the more strained the relationship became, and at the time, I took it down to the fact that it was my fault for not being able to do anything. I kind of think about it now in the sense that she knew how much money I had, and she was just tolerating my presence until my money finished, and she'd have a small house and a restaurant out of me for her to do with as she pleased. That's how I see it today, though I didn't see it like that at the time. I didn't see it like that for quite a few years after, until I started understanding that this happens to so many people, and so many people go through similar things. It was probably her plan all along. He's only got this much money. I know the restaurant's not going to make $30,000 a month, but it's going to make something. If I can get this and this out of him, let's tolerate him for the time being, and when his money runs out, he can leave. I think that's what her plan was, though I didn't see it like that. I'm just getting more upset as the money's going down. She's getting more strained with my anger and my being upset, and it was just a dreadful time, because by the time I only had £1,000 left, coming to the realisation that this hasn't worked according to plan, though still believing that she was trying her best, it was really awful, a really bad time. I said to her, I've got a new idea. What we can do is, I'll get another job, and you can come and live in the UK with me, and then we can come back when we have more money. But she said no, she didn't want to leave her kids, and she said she can't do that. She said, why don't you try and find a job? I told her I can't, because I can't do anything. I can't teach, and I can't do anything else. I'm not Thai. I wasn't able to do anything else. Again, any guy out there, if you've got enough money to live for the rest of your life in Thailand, great. If you don't, and you need to do something there, that's where the problem is. I told her I couldn't, and she was, in a way, making it my decision to have to leave in a bad way, because I kind of think of it now, it was her plan all along, though I didn't know it at the time. I just thought if I have to leave, we'll keep in touch. She said she didn't want me to leave, but if I do leave, she doesn't want to keep in touch with me anymore. That's how it ended. I told her I'm going to have to leave, I'll get another job, I'll try to save up some money and I'll come back and let's invest in something else. Given that the restaurant was making between $10,000 to $12,000 a month, it just wasn't enough to live on. But if we could have another 2 businesses on top, then that would be enough. That's what I was hoping to do. I'll go save up more money for the next one, and then the next one, and then we can be good. But she said she loves me, and she can't take being apart from me. She really doesn't want to stay without me, and it's because of that. If I leave, then it's over. That's how she put it to me, and I didn't have a choice. It broke my heart. And it wasn't like I left and we were having animosity between us. It was like an understanding that I'd tried and I'd failed, and she'd tried and she'd failed. Though she didn't want to be without me, she said it was too painful to be without me, and because of that, that's why it's not going to work out. That's how I lost my money in Thailand, which wasn't a lot like many guys, though it was something. I still lost it. I lost it all. She played me so well that it was only about 3 years later at this point, by the time I managed to save up a little bit of extra money when I was going to go somewhere else, because I didn't want to go back to Thailand, starting to do more research, when I understood the actual truth. She had played me. It was her plan all along to do this, and she'd done it so well that I left on good terms with her, as if the only reason we weren't together was because she was so uncomfortable at the thought of not being able to be with me. That's how it went for me. I've since travelled around to other places and life has been okay. As I said, Brazil is a place which I'm hoping to retire to soon. I'm getting my pension soon, my private pension that is, and I just take that Thailand trip as being something that opened up the world to me. If I have to take positives from it, it opened up the world to me, it did. It made me realise that there are good things out there are bad things out there, that there are evil people out there who will manipulate you and try their best to get things out of you. She played the long game, I suppose you could say. She didn't get anything out of me at all until I built that little house and that little restaurant. She even managed to convince me that she didn't want to stay without me, even though, I will say this to end, I did say to her, I'm happy to send you some money every month while you wait for me. But she said no, I don't want any more money, I want to be with you or nothing. And because it had to be nothing, she clearly managed to take that from me. And I bet she still got it today. And perhaps she was with someone all along and it was just a ruse, and I will never know. Just be very careful if you're going to Thailand. I suppose everyone says the same thing. If you're going to Thailand, all I would say is, if you've got enough money to live, great. If you don't, don't. That's all I would say.
Thanks for tuning into today's story, guys. I really do appreciate it. Hoping to have the next Patreon exclusive up tomorrow or the day after, and the next story on this channel in 3 or 4 days' time. Happy to be able to put the backlog that we've had out at the moment, so I'm really happy to do that. Can't wait to share the next story with you guys. Really appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers, and bye for now.